Hey YouTube! So another weekly rewind, and this week we have a lot of kind of crazy topics to talk about. A lot of really, I don't know, heated but weird kind of transgender, transracial, kind of
the lines
strange.
are not, the issues for which the lines are not black and white, and they actually become very emotionally charged because they're okay. I didn't mean
I like that. That was great. Great
It just meant that there were not hard delineations between points of view.
But before we start that, we're going to talk about some TV. We're going to start off a little bit lighter.
And before we start that, I want to say thank you for this awesome tank top that I'm wearing to Darren Burton, who found it in his local area and sent it to me as a gift. And I want to say it's super awesome and I love it.
No one ever sends me gifts.
Well, it's because maybe you need to use a little more honey than vinegar.
Okay, so we're going to start this week's Weekly Rewind with The Fosters. They're actually officially back on TV, and as you guys know, it's one of ours and the kids' favorite shows. I was super disappointed with last night's episode. I just feel like it was a complete letdown. If you do watch The Fosters, you know that last season ended with this big dramatic car crash where the twins were in the vehicle with their biological mother.
Hold up. Before you go any further in this video, this is your spoiler warning now. If you don't want to know, because that's last season.
Okay.
But if you don't want to know, stop now.
Well, we're not going to go into a lot about it, but it's a big letdown the way they open up the new season. They kind of make the whole last season, all the drama that had been happening, just kind of go away, which I think is a really weak way to start the new season.
It's almost like the writer for last season didn't come back for the current one, or he's out sick, and they got
just very weird.
Somebody's sixth grade cousin to fill in.
Somebody loses their virginity. We're not going to say who, but the way that it happens and the circumstances.
So lame and not even believable.
And then there's the whole drama with Jude and his boyfriend, his boyfriend's really sweet, and Jude has lots of issues.
Yeah, I know. So. It sounds kind of, the way they set it up is kind of weird. It doesn't seem like it's really true to his character at all.
I think it is. He's kind of complex kid, and even our kids look at him and go, what is this problem? So it's one of those shows where hopefully Jude will mature and he'll become a little bit more clear with who he is as an individual. But as of now, he's not one of my favorite characters on the show, even though it takes a lot of bravery to be young and out and LGBT. I mean, his character on the show is much needed, but not one of my favorites. Now on to the show that me and Brian binge watched. There's very few shows that me and Brian can agree on that we can actually sit back and watch together. And there is a new show on Netflix which you can sit down and watch all in one day or a weekend if you choose. Because I guarantee you, if you start watching it, you're going to binge it. It is called
Sense8, and we talked about this last week. They know about this show.
Okay, well, we binge watched the whole show together.
Yeah, we saw the whole thing.
So, I mean, we watched it there's 12 episodes, and we could not stop watching it. At the end of every episode, you really want to watch the next episode because it kind of leaves you in a cliffhanger.
It's like that book that you just can't put down. Once you get past like the third episode and they finally get into the plot, you're like, I've got to see them all.
It's such a cool show because you've got you've got a lesbian character, you've got a transgender character, you have a gay character, you actually have a bunch of straight characters, and they're all over the world. It's a really unique kind of concept where they're all feeling each other's emotions and they can sense each other's or pick up each other's skills. I mean, it's really hard to describe. It's such a unique story to it.
But even though this is technically a sci-fi film, I think the thing that's best about it and the thing that we've come to appreciate is all the stuff that other TV shows skirt around or shy away from. They just show it like
full frontal male nudity.
And that's not all. I mean, there's been some like scenes where babies are born and you're seeing the baby coming out.
Yeah.
It's everything. I mean,
it's very edgy.
They don't pull any punches.
Yeah.
It's just really honest in the way they're depicting people. And they're talking about religion, they're talking about philosophy, they're talking about all sorts of different things. And the way they connect people that come from vastly different parts of the world and think about things very differently.
It's a very deep show and full frontal male nudity.
Yes.
So there is a scene, episode 6, which is an orgy scene, and usually I'm not into the whole, TV sex scenes. This is done so well.
Who are you kidding?
It's these. I don't normally, depending. Most of them are overdone and not done right. This scene
Let me get
basically
to wipe up your drool.
Basically, there's several characters that start to feel sexual towards each other, and they start to overlap each other's feelings and emotions.
Well,
one of the characters is in the gym.
That's not really what happens.
Okay, well, you can explain here. One of the characters is in the gym, and one of the other characters, the gay character, is actually making love to his partner. And they slowly, somehow come together in a really erotic, sexy scene between a straight man, a gay man, and some gym equipment. Take a look at this.
So that's not really how that
That
scene
was
came
hot.
together. The whole premise of the show is that there are
Yeah.
8 people that are sharing their consciousness. So
Yes.
it makes sense that if 1 or 2 of them have a romantic encounter with their partners that
Yeah.
are not a part of their personality cluster, that it would bleed through to the others. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. It was a really, like,
Yeah, I blushed.
short-circuiting scene.
Yeah,
though.
it's pretty
I was
amazing
like,
actually. It's to see them in their own individual lives
Mhm.
having these experiences and then seeing them bleeding into each other. And the scene I just showed you with the police officer working out and then him having this sexual experience with a gay man and he is straight was mind blowing. I mean, and the way that the characters deal with it in the show, I think is really cool.
It comes
So-
off being humorous later on, and I think we're not really
Yeah.
doing the whole scenario justice.
They have to watch it.
You have to go see it for yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so in watching Sense8 and in seeing the Fosters actually and the commercials that are coming on around that show, it has become apparent what a large trans presence there is on TV right now.
Yeah.
Much more so than there was just a really few short years ago.
Yeah, and actually in Sense8 there's a really good scene where the trans character has a kind of a homophobic, well, it wouldn't be homophobic, is it? There's a group of lesbians at Pride that give her some hard time because she's dating, the trans character is dating an out lesbian who's friends with these lesbians and they're treating her very differently and her partner actually stands up and defends her. And it's actually a really good scene where you can see that trans people aren't always discriminated by heterosexual people, they're actually discriminated by
Get some
gay
crap from the
people.
gay community.
Yeah, they get crap from everybody, which I think it's really important that we see those different aspects of the trans
But
community.
we're looking at Sense8, which one of their main characters is a trans character.
Very cool character.
There are 2 shows that revolve around parents and families where one member is transitioning. We've got Becoming Us and we have Transparent, both shows that I've heard good things about. And then Orange is the New Black, which has had a long-running trans character on it. So, I mean, that's 4 really popular shows that have, if they don't have a trans character, they are specifically about trans issues, and that's really huge.
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting because actually the producer director of Sense8 is one of the Waskowskis,
Lana Wachowski.
who is trans. So that's
Wachowski.
kind of neat. It's interesting to see how much of her influence or story is making it into Sense8 and telling her story through this great series.
But like I said, it's one of the reasons why I really like Sense8 is because it tells a very real story, and even though it's couched within a sci-fi show. But anyway,
So now that we're
moving on.
talking about transitioning, all over the blogs, all over the news today is a lady who's transitioned from white to black. And she is getting crap from all kinds of people. And then she's getting support from other people who are saying, if a male can transition to a female, how come a white woman cannot transition to a black woman if this is truly who she feels she is?
I can't remember her name now. Rachel Donizal.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yes, we've actually had a lot of conversation.
We've argued about this to no end,
Yeah,
YouTube.
we have. Our minds are not fully settled on this issue. Because the people are making the point that, well, if somebody feels that they are something inside, and to a certain degree with the trans community, we accept that when somebody says, I'm trans, I am the opposite gender than what I was born into, you kind of go, okay, and you accept that person for that. So how can this woman not say, I'm black, that's what I feel like I am in here, why can I not live that way outside and be accepted? Now, all of us are going to have opinions on that, but I think the biggest people to hear a response from would be the black community.
I disagree.
From my point
I
of
don't
view.
think that anybody gets to determine, gets to dictate to anybody how they live or who they choose to live as. So I don't think the black community gets to say that it's cool that this lady does this or doesn't do this. I think this lady has to live with her own demons. She has to make her own choices. And one of the things that she's done, which I really do disagree with, is she's completely cut out her family and any of her friends that knew that she was white. I think whether she chooses to live as a black woman or as a white woman, that's not my issue with her. My biggest issue with her is her inability to be honest about who she is and her journey. So that's my biggest problem. And I think even when it comes to the trans community, there's so many people in the trans community that once they've transitioned into becoming the sex they feel they are, they cut out a lot of the people that help them get there, including friends, families, and sometimes the biggest activists going back in the closet and they continue to live as their new life and they've cut out all their old life. And I think that's a really sad, it's kind of sad that people feel the need to do that they feel like they cannot be fully accepted by their new life until their old life is dead.
Right.
So, In that sense, it's very similar.
And we've had a lot of discussions about, is this situation the same? Is this woman scenario the same as somebody who's transgendered? On the surface, to me, it seems like it would be, but if you look at it deeper, I think there's a lot of issues that show how they are not the same necessarily. Especially when you look at, like I had a good friend who was transgendered and who was male to female, and they reached a point in their life where I'm going to transition or I can't survive any longer, and she didn't, there was too much family pressure, and she felt like she was hurting her family more than anything else, and she ultimately ended up taking her own life. And to me, that is such a big game changer, as it feels like if you can't live life as who you really feel like you are on the inside, that you're willing to just not live it at all. It really says something to me.
And I don't think it changes for this lady who wants to be black. I think that we do not know what she's dealing with. She's getting a lot of public scrutiny right now. People are really calling her out for her stuff. Mm-hmm. A news reporter got in her face and asked her if her parents were really black, if she's really black. And you could just see mentally behind her eyes that she was like, oh shit, and she did not know how to deal with this. And I think we all are individuals. We all have unique stories. And I think we all should be accepted for who we are and the journeys we take, whether other people like it or not.
Well, do you think, though, that particular interview showed that she was intentionally passing herself off as something she knew she wasn't?
Yeah, she's being deceptive. She's lied about her life. Instead of her saying, hey, I was born as a white woman, but if I was born as a white woman and I relate more as a black woman and I feel internally that I am a black woman, I would respect that more than what she did, which is basically cut out her family, cut out her life, and completely pretend to be something that she's not.
Well, YouTube, this is one of the nicer discussions that we've had about this topic.
We actually had a big fight on camera, but the video turned off. So you're seeing the PC version of our earlier...
It's not the PC, it's just we've already hashed out the hard stuff bit. But you can see that our opinions are evolving on this topic. We want to know what you think about that. So, is this woman's story, Rachel Dolezal, is her story the same as somebody who's transgendered? How is it different? What do you think? We'd like to know.
Until next time, YouTube. Bye.
Bye.